everyone. I hope you can all hear us well. I'd like to welcome you all to this session our panelist speakers on avoiding turnover and improving the employee experience. We'll give another second. I can still see a couple people just slowly coming in, and we'll get started in just one moment. All right, our numbers seem to have petered off there, so that's great. So hello everyone and welcome again. Especially a special welcome and thank you to our panelists who I have the great pleasure of introducing shortly. So my name is Allison and I'm part of the customer success team here at Hibob, and I'm co-managing the customer experience team. And I've been working at Hibob for just shy of about 4 years. Well, that's enough about me. You guys are not here to hear me speak today. You're here to hear our lovely panelists and what they have to say. So today our panel is here to talk about employee turnover. Employee turnover is an entirely normal part of business, but there's a multitude of reasons an employee may choose to leave an organization. Onboarding, culture, management, but the common denominator is employee experience. Now, throw in a pandemic and switch to working remotely, and a whole new host of challenges and employee experience takes center stage. So how can you ensure your employee experience translates to remote work and reduces employee turnover? This is where our panel discussion and with our group of HR experts comes into play. So your questions from the audience here will drive the conversation and the topics covered in today's session. So for our audience, you can ask your questions on the dashboard on the right-hand side on the GoToWebinar dashboard. You'll be able to put your questions in there. You can ask your questions to the general panel or to a panelist specifically. Just make sure to note that into your question. And if we don't get to your question, worry not, we'll follow up with you after our discussion. So one last bit before I introduce our panel and before we get started. Just a reminder for our audience, at the end of this session, there will be a short survey about employee experience. So please do try and answer all of those questions. There is a prize involved for the person, for everyone who completes the raffle. There's going to be, getting all muddled there. There will be a raffle for everyone who completes the survey at the end of the session. So make sure to fill that in for a chance to be entered. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our panelists. So we'll start with Sophie, who's just sitting right here under me. She is our people manager at Amido. Sophie, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Hibob, for having me today. So I'm Sophie, people manager at Amido, and I joined them almost 3 years ago, bringing with me a variety of experiences within different industries to support and drive the people team at Amido. So for those who haven't heard of us, Amido is the cloud native consultancy for better business outcomes. Our clients trust us to tackle complex digital transformation projects. We help them think and do. We deliver strategy and software engineering to drive innovation and improve their their people and customer lives. And we work across a variety of different multiple sectors such as retail, public sector, media, aviation, and finance, with some sort of household familiar brands such as ASOS, Nando's, Global Radio, Next, Burberry, and Ministry of Justice, just to name a few. This time last year, I was actually talking on behalf of Hibob at the HRD Summit in Birmingham. Little did we know what was about to hit us in this world, which seems crazy to think. And I'm grateful to work with a people director and our people assistant and work closely with our talent team to manage the entire employee journey, from hiring fantastic people to onboarding, development, engagement, and retention, all whilst ensuring we have a great culture, optimized people processes, and an excellent employee experience to match. So I joined the company at a headcount of about 80. We've grown by, in lockdown alone from March 2020, we've grown actually by 55, which is crazy. And we have now scaled to 140. So we actually welcomed 3 new joiners just today. Looking forward to discussing with our 2 other panelists and picking up some tips to ensure we keep on improving, as everyone wants to, make things better for our people in Amido as we scale. Thank you.
Wow, Sophie, that's so exciting to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, I would like to introduce Samuel Ruiz. He is our HR manager at Optimity.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Samuel. I work at Optimity. We're an internet, ISP, MSP, and IT services provider based in Shoreditch. So we give internet connectivity, managed services, and IT services to SMEs within mainly the London area, although we do have some of the customers outside London and also within the surroundings and skirts. I've been with the company for nearly 4 years. Our growth hasn't been as big as Sophie's company, but we're still quite stable. We acquired another company last year, and which was very exciting, especially when it comes to welcoming new members of the team. It was a way smaller company. They never had an HR figure in the past, so it was also a bit of a challenge to get them introduced to having someone totally dedicated to this function. And we still have that small growth. And last year we did have quite a lot of joiners as well. And yesterday I had one more new joiner for this month. So yeah, looking forward to keep adding more heads to the head count.
Thanks so much, Samuel. It sounds like you're really part of a transition time with that onboarding for that new company as well.
I am. I really am. It was great.
Awesome. And last but not least, I'm very happy to introduce Nirit Peled-Muntz. She is the Chief People Officer at Hibob. Hey, Nirit, pass it over to you.
Hi, Ali. Thank you. And so I think I don't need to, of course, present Hibob because everybody knows, but I think being an HR in Hibob is, of course, a great opportunity, but also a great challenge because all our employees are really well aware of all the HR, technique, methods, new trends, and keep on pushing us, the HR team, to do more all the time. Right, Ali? I get a lot of push from Ali every day, like do this, which is, I think, great. It's having such a great and excited and committed team to HR issues is something that I never had before, and I think it is a great opportunity. So we do try to walk the talk and use the best methods at home as well. Cannot say that we are, of course, 100%, but we want to be there and we are doing our best. So I joined almost a year ago, actually just during the pandemic. So it was a very odd HR experience, just to go into the company where everybody is remote. And I think half of the people I still haven't met in person. But I think that, from the other side, it was also a great opportunity to create one team because, suddenly we didn't have the different site. We just had one remote company. And I think we created a lot of global processes because of that, much more connectivity between the different sites and the different culture and different teams. Still, I think that we all really hope to see each other face to face, but I think that also those challenges brought a lot of positiveness into the company's business, into the company's life, and even to the employee experience. So again, as a Hibob, I think, highly committed to create a great experience and also to measure it all the time, and we have the right tool to do that. So we use a lot of survey and feedback, to understand how our newcomers or current employees feel almost every month, which is, I think, great. And we try to, of course, react and continue to improve the experience. Beside that, I live in Israel, mother for 3, had vast experience in HR, more than 25, which probably says something about my age. And I think, like Sophie, was really different industries, pharma, high tech, and even manufacturing for 1 year. But people are still people everywhere, and HR work is always great just to meet the people and work with them. And yeah, so that's me.
Thanks so much, Nirit, for that great introduction of yourself and of Hibob as well. And as an employee from Hibob, yes, I can definitely see the changes and how the shift to much more flexible working and changing the employee and how COVID has impacted the employee experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing insights from all three. Thank you very much. And we'll get started with our first question. So just a reminder for our audience, if you do have any questions, please input them onto the dashboard on the right side, and we'll go through them as we get on. So to get started, I'll first direct this question to you, Samuel. So what has your company done differently since COVID? How are you treating your employees? Have you made any big changes?
Well, obviously the main change was to send everyone to work from home, which was an adult thing that we used to have. So people used to, I don't know, work a day from home, but that was all about it. And then it was all about accommodating everyone to work from home for a very long period. So there's been a lot of risk assessments, sending lots of equipment for people to work from home, then evaluate their situation. Mental health definitely played a really big card on this. So from time to time, what I did, I signed up with a platform to start creating quizzes online. And so every so often I was doing quizzes and I was doing little events online just to keep people motivated and definitely engaged. It was definitely hard.
Sorry about that, Samuel. I think we just had a bit of an audio glitch with your connection. Could you try speaking again now?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's much better. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that.
Technology, huh? So where did you miss me? Where did you lose connection with me?
You were just finishing telling us about how you were doing different quizzes and events online and trying to get everyone involved.
Yes, pretty much. Yes, the biggest challenge was to keep everyone engaged. Obviously, when you get people working from home for such long period of time, people get alienated as well, and some of them just did not know when to stop working. It's just like a continuous, working very long shift. And what we used to have in the past was that you would go to the office, you work your hours, and then you go back home, and that's it. You could easily differentiate home from work. Now, literally, you're I don't know, I'm on my dining room table, so we don't have dinners here anymore. It's literally just my working station. So, and I guess that happened to many other people as well.
So true.
It's very true, and I think you touched upon a really important point there. Was you touched upon mental health and having people involved, but also how do you have that divide between home and work that used to be there with this shift to working entirely remotely, and when to stop working? I think that's something that a lot of people, especially those who might be living alone, and having that divide and having a clear space for that. So thank you for sharing with us. Sophie, would you like to share with us a little bit on how COVID has changed how you're working at Amido?
Yeah, absolutely. So being a sort of consultancy, typically pre all of this, we had our people sort of working a split between client site, and that could be any number of locations in London, or a couple sort of just outside of London, and then sort of 1 day a week from home, like Samuel, sort of similar setup, and then we had sort of a London office as well. So yeah, obviously back in March, everyone worked from home, and we were lucky that we were all set up in order to do that. And really for us, it's being a consultancy, our people is our product. So we really had that at the start. We really sort of pride ourselves on our culture, really. And for us, it was, as I think as Nirit was saying earlier on in her introduction, it's actually made us closer in a way. We've opened up national hiring. We've managed to hire sort of people from Scotland and Newcastle, and before we didn't really have a specific hub for there. So we had a Manchester hub, which had a sort of a couple of employees back in March. We've now grown that hub sort of to 7 or so. But yeah, everyone is on an equal playing field. You know, there's not one person that is having to be in a client site, you know, an hour out of London. We're all in our little Microsoft Teams or Zoom rooms, and this has really enhanced our sort of Slack communities, and you know, that's what's really shown from all of our new joiners that have joined us. You know, they can feel the culture, and they haven't even met anyone from even interview stage. So yeah, we're doing something right. You know, there's always things that we could be doing better, but I think for us it's flexibility is absolutely key. You know, you've got to be flexible to your employees. You've really got to put the trust back into them. You know, I think this has been a kind of experiment for everyone in the world, really. And it's sort of companies coming out the back of this, you know, sort of like, what are we going to do differently? You know, we've got to trust our people. So sort of from the back of this, we've created a new flexible working policy to sort of put the trust back in our people, and sort of work wherever's best for you. So that's going to be a real split between little hubs around sort of the UK, whether that will be in London. You know, I'm actually from Brighton, so there might be a little hub that we join up there, depending on the team and depending on, you know, how we best work. And then obviously working from home as well. So we're going to move to a bit of a remote first culture. So for us, it's flexibility and you know, keeping the sort of social communications going. So that's give a couple of examples. We do a sort of morning coffee chit chat from 8:30 to 9, hosted by one of our directors. You know, that's really just to mirror the coffees when you come into an office. You can stand by the coffee machine and, you know, catch up informally. It doesn't even have to be about work. And that's been great. And I think, you know, as Nirit as well was saying, you know, you kind of, everyone is on an equal playing field, but everyone has invited their entire sort of families and pets and things into the show as well. So I think that really allows you just to feel a bit more relaxed and comfortable, which I know it doesn't help for switching off necessarily, because you sort of have work from all angles. But yeah, I think it's important to touching on the mental health side, to really communicate that it's okay, you know, to clock out for a couple of hours to go for a walk if that suits your diary at that time. You know, there's no sort of strict hours as such. We've just got to work around everything that's going on, homeschooling, you know, all of those sort of difficulties and challenges. Yeah, flexibility and communication, and just keep checking in, really. Keep inviting people to ask, you know, to see how they are, really.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think you've touched upon a really interesting point there too that Nirit had spoken about earlier, whereas, you know, there is that everything external is now coming into the workplace as well. So all of these things that would have been a little bit separate before. So it has its pros and its cons, as you said. I think the con can be the shut off, but the pro can be is you're really seeing people in their element and you're really learning more about your employees. So thank you both.
Yeah.
Nirit, I'm actually going to put you to a different question a little bit, because we touched upon it briefly with Sophie and Samuel before around onboarding. So the question I've got for you is, how do you handle employee onboarding with everyone working at a distance? How do you make the newcomers feel part of the team?
Cool. Let me try to take it. And of course, it is a challenge and a process. And we onboard, I think, in the last, let's say, 5 months, around 60 or 70 newcomers. So it's heavy duty. And all our managers, of course, are part of this hardship. So I think, you know, for us, first of all, was to understand that, you know, when you onboard people remotely, it's a totally different environment or experience than you do it in the office. You lack all the kitchen interaction and all the informal interaction, and you have to create it somehow within the program in a more, I don't know if artificial, but structured way. And I think that you really need to make sure that your newcomers are feeling, welcome, but they also have confidence and clarity and good communication when they are on board. And I think, always onboarding is like a first impression, right? You cannot miss it, because if you do it wrong, then the people would not ramp up quickly, but the experience also is going to be negative. So I think, first of all, we work very close with the managers to create very structured and clear processes for each one of the function. So we have a different one for the AEs, for the CS, and the different function in the CS, for SDR and BDR. Of course, it's not for every role in the organization, but for the one that we hire more than 3 or 4 people, then we created a clear program with clear videos and slides that they can go in and do a self-learning as well session with the managers. We also make sure that, so this is, I think, with the content size. So we try to really make it clear with the, what is happening in the first week, what is happening in the second, third, and so on. In addition, of course, we also created, we call it offboarding. And actually, I just went off one of them. So, all the newcomers have 3 days of two-hour session with all the C-level in the company, again, to take them through the history, the philosophy, and just to give them like a overall feeling they're part of a bigger company and not only their team. From the social part, we also, which is, I think, extremely important. So each one of them have a specific buddy that is fully trained, and the buddy is taking care of them and make sure that they have more of a social interaction, fun, and also talking about all the maybe informal things that are important as well. Yeah, the HR, of course, is doing a lot of check-in, definitely in the first 2 weeks, but also we have like a process that they have a survey after 30 days, and then a check-in after 60 days, and another survey after 30 days. So we keep on, getting the feeling what is going on with the employees. And I have to say, and I don't want to, just to say nice things about ourselves, but I think that the feedback that we get from the newcomers is really awesome. I'm still surprised because I was not sure that we can really create a good experience while remote, but apparently we do. So we are very proud of that.
That's great to hear. Thanks so much, Nirit. And I think as well, something that's really important and that I've found to be incredibly helpful as a manager who's onboarded new joiners during this time has been some of the automation that's being put in place for our new joiners, and these reminders of check-in sessions and automated feedback being sent to them through the Bob system has been incredibly helpful for myself as a manager, and I'm not having to remember to do it each time. It's happening automatically. I think that's something that's so helpful. Oh, I think we've lost Nirit. I think she might be having a connection issue. So while she gets herself sorted out there, I'll pass this question over to you, Sophie. You spoke earlier and said that you've just actually onboarded a couple new joiners today. Or the beginning
exactly,
of this week,
yeah, exactly. We're sort of growing, by sort of 1, 2, or 3 every other week, really, with sort of all the fantastic work we've got in the pipeline, with sort of new and upcoming clients, and growing out existing clients as well. So it's a really exciting time. I must say, Bob has been absolutely tremendous throughout this whole process, with the automation on the sort of onboarding to-dos and all the tasks. The first thing, it's actually the first impression that our new joiners have, really, from our system point of view, is actually welcoming them after they've signed their offer and contract onto the HR system. They can put all their stuff in, all their bits and pieces, and watch a little bit of a video on our culture. Actually, yes, it was back in the office, but it gives a little bit of a flavour, doesn't it? And then we've got sort of various different inductions. I'm sure, like both Samuel and Nirit, we sort of capture all of the operations inductions in the first week or so. And I think and we're adapting as we're going along. But we have 6-week reviews for our new joiners to see sort of how they're getting on, and that's supplemented by a 6-week survey, so we can sort of have a really good discussion in that time. And yeah, the overwhelming feedback is it's a good mixture between sort of enough sort of Zoom and Teams meetings, and also on the other side going and finding out little bits of information for themselves. One thing that we did do back in April was kick off a new buddy scheme, because that's something that we definitely were missing from the process of support. So each new employee will have their line manager. They'll have a project manager on their sort of client side from Amido. They'll have like a head of a department as well. So that's specific to potentially, you know, a Java engineer, or specific to DevOps, or sort of another function. And really their buddy is someone on the same level as them, but in a different competency, different department. So I think that's really important, because I think it's always about really, you know, inviting people to share networks with others. You know, you can't just sort of, you know, see 10 people when you're in the office. You can't just sort of initiate those conversations. So it's really making a new employee's life just as easy as possible. It's so daunting starting a new role, especially remotely. And yeah, I think it's really trying to make it as seamless as possible throughout, really. And like Nirit, you know, we've had fantastic feedback. We have sort of meet and greets with our CEO, and he sort of comes to us sort of, wow, you know, have you guys paid these people to say fantastic things? You know, no, we haven't. And yeah, sort of we're trying to, yeah, keep it all up, really. And you know, with all the new sort of roadmap in line with the UK, that's giving people a little bit of hope that they might actually see someone in the flesh, see someone below the neck, and work out a bit of a sort of hybrid solution from there.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, Sophie. Thank you. I think your point about, you know, making sure that the employee is feeling connected, it was really heard, and you know, implementing that buddy system was probably incredibly helpful for your new joiners as well. Sounds great. Samuel, I'll direct the same question to you. How have you been handling your new joiners onboardings at Optimity?
Well, I remember it was, I think it was like 3 or 4 days right after everyone was sent to work from home when I had my very first remote onboarding. And in fact, 2 days, I haven't met that person just yet. So, you know, it still tells you something. So it was definitely different. I was like, oh, wow, you know, how am I going to handle this? So obviously, yes, when I was onboarding people in the office, I would have my presentation, a meeting room and everything. So I had my meeting room. So I kind of used this person as a guinea pig just to see, you know, how this was going to go. And it was going to be also for me, to be onboarding people for the first time remotely. And then obviously ever since that has been the only way. So when we were in the office, we used to take this person out for lunch on the first day. It would be buddying up with someone else. The line manager will spend some time as well. We would take them for, you know, to around the office or around the block to see, oh, you know, this restaurant is amazing, or you can get a really good, nice wrap from this stall market. Things like that. Right now it's like, oh, I remember when I used to go to that market. Not anymore. So it's all about you know, sending right now it's about sending promotional materials. So if you've got a t-shirt, you know, if you've got like a nice marker, you know, branded merchandising, basically, that, you know, will make that person feel welcome to the team. Sometimes you can also send like a adjusted code so that that person can have that lunch on the company. Obviously not with us anymore, like physically, but you know, that we'll get there again at some point. We've been keeping meetings as we used to have every week, so now it's every 2 weeks. We still have those online gatherings where we explain the situation, what's going on in the company. People have a chance to ask questions as well. Whenever there is a new joiner, we will be sending out shout outs on Teams every day, like, hey, welcome this person. On those birthdays, try to, you know, get the word out, and, you know, everyone, like, hey, you know, you're gonna start receiving some messages from people that you don't know, basically, and are gonna try to make you feel welcome to the team. Hibob has definitely helped a lot. One of the very simple examples is that I had someone joining for the very first time in August, and this person started recognizing others on team calls by seeing the pictures on their Hibob profiles. was like, oh my God, yeah, so you're Dan and you're Tom and you're, so it was a nice thing to do. So I totally encourage everyone to get their profile on Hibob sorted out from day one, because like, you know, get your profile out so people can see you, and you know, can start having interactions with you basically, and even recognize you when we're on a Microsoft Teams. You know, we also encourage them to put the pictures on the emails. Like, don't worry, your customers are not going to see you, it's just internal, so others can see who you are and can approach you easily. And then I haven't used the survey tools as much, so you know, I'm taking ideas as we speak as well. That's going to help. But I definitely follow up with the new joiners. In fact, I had 2 people joining in on December, and I had a catch up with them last week just to see how they're going. Now their probationary period is approaching. And you know, it's also good to see how their integration to the team. I also received excellent feedback from other team members, have been supporting them with some training needs. So you know, that was great, and that also allowed me to, you know, congratulate that person that I hadn't heard from, you know, that was supporting them on the side. And so, you know, it's also good to see, oh, you know, it's also other people that you don't normally interact with that are, you know, getting that input to these new joiners. So you know, you get them give them opportunity to coach new people as well. So that's also great.
Awesome. Sounds like everyone's been having some really great feedback from their sessions that they're running with these new joiners. It sounds really wonderful, and I wish best of luck to all of your new joiners. So this is actually this next question is going to kind of come around to how you were all speaking earlier. Oh,
can I add one more thing? I think
of course. Go for it, Nirit.
With regard to the onboarding, I think I think maybe even took it for granted, but it's not. I think that the shout out are a real great tool. And at least for us, we asked the managers actually to put the shout out. And I think it's such a nice way to accept people into the organization. So there is always like such a nice, lovely shout out, and people can react and say, you know, welcome. And I think it really create like a first a great experience for the newcomers. So highly recommended as well.
Yeah, and I think that point goes directly to what Samuel was saying around, you know, putting the person to the picture, and that's something that we're doing with the shout outs. We always post a picture of the new joiners, so being, you know, recognizing them on calls or seeing them in another meeting, it makes it a lot easier. So thank you. And so yeah, this question goes into how we've all, you know, with working remotely, everything's virtual now. So how are you handling Zoom fatigue on a budget? So this question's come from a company that says they're very small and they have a fairly small budget. So they're looking to some suggestions that you might have for battling that Zoom fatigue for employees.
I can go first if you like.
I'll start with you, Sophie. Thanks.
Yeah, I think to really understand, you know, I think a lot of people maybe won't feel comfortable saying that they have Zoom fatigue because it's obviously part and parcel of the role. To join a video call, have your camera on. You know, I think if anyone doesn't have the camera on, it's you know, it depends on your culture, of course, but for, you know, especially in Amido, it's sort of cameras on most of the time, really. So for us, going back to sort of the survey feature, we've implemented wellbeing check-in surveys. We started off using actually the template that was pre-installed on there, which is great. And then we sort of, you know, tweaked it here and there to make it really sort of directly to Amido. So you've just really got to understand the needs. And yeah, some of the feedback we did have was Zoom Teams fatigue. And I think it's important, like I sort of said earlier, it's important to just to keep communicating if someone is finding that their day is, you know, their weeks are just full with meetings. You know, something that we've done in our team, and we were sort of in the process of rolling it out company wide, is you know, dedicate one day completely no meetings, you know, because it's just so important to have that focus time. I think previously we used that working from home day once a week as the focus time. So it's ironic, isn't it, that our working from home days are full back to back. So, you know, little things like putting your meetings in for 15 minutes or 25, rather than the full hour or the full half hour, just so you don't have, you can grab a coffee in between, or take a breather outside, which we're lucky enough to do so being from home. And yeah, I think it's about implementing other initiatives like walk and talks. I had one with my people assistant a couple of weeks ago. We just both went on a dog walk, had sort of half an hour, and it's just without sort of a screen share or a specific objective to have to sort of nail. It's just catching up. So little bits and pieces like that. I think one of our challenges is being in a consultancy. It's very difficult to have a day once a week or a day once every other week that every single one of our clients would be happy to sort of down tools and sort of stop the daily stand-ups or stop the sort of sprint demos, things like that. So that's something we're working on. Nothing is going to work exactly perfectly from a product company and a consultancy, but certainly operationally we are encouraging it from the top down.
Thanks, Sophie. It's a lot of interesting points there. So before I comment, I'll let Samuel, would you like to share with us how you're helping to battle the Zoom fatigue?
Well, it's difficult to try to organize things for people to do to reduce that fatigue when you cannot actually, it's nothing else that is not going to cause the fatigue itself. We, something that an exercise that can be tried, especially for companies that don't have that much budget, is creating a meeting, but avoiding cameras just to follow with the sound. There's lots of videos available on, for example, YouTube, where you've got relaxation techniques that can help people to, just by listening instead of, being focusing on watching. There are other things that, you can do by doing other house chores, that are going to distract you from doing that work, but at least you're not stuck to the computer. You can also encourage your people to take at least 1 hour off for, like Sophie said earlier, for a walk, or I don't know, go to have your lunch, even if it's just to do nothing, just literally switch off from the computer and try to stay away from any other technology element or device. Some others, say, oh, I'm going to switch off from the computer, but I'm going to grab my phone, I'm going to check on Instagram. Well, no, it's about literally, doing a disconnection that is going to, play an important role. Sometimes when I used to go to the office, I used to walk to the office. It was like an hour walk every day. I still respect that. So if I'm not going to the office, I'm going to go for an hour walk around the blocks just to get that routine back in track. And obviously that fresh air in the morning comes in really well before cracking on with any workload that I've got pending. So finding anything that is going to be low key and is going to take you away from any meetings, it's always going to be a success. It doesn't matter, you don't have to spend that much money on it.
Great, thanks, Samuel. And again, before I comment, I'll pass this question over to Nirit, and I've just been noting down some of the ideas, so I'll summarize at the end.
Cool. So, I think not much to add from what Samuel and Sophia already said. I think Zoom fatigue is awful, right? We all suffer from it. But as you just said, I think that we try to encourage and provide tips around, putting lunch break, exercise, try to find, other ways to interact, which is great, but I think it's still there. I think it's not for lower budget, but still, I think it was a very nice idea that we implement. We had the sales and NCS kickoff this year, and we actually find a really cool platform that is very interactive, and we use it for this kickoff, which was very different than the Zoom. So I think that even when you have a low budget, you can find different platform that you can use for that, and maybe create a little different experience, during the working day. So I think also it's a nice offer that people can use.
Yeah, thanks, Nirit. So actually, as a user of that platform and who attended one of those kickoffs, this was a really interesting piece of technology that we got to use. It was really great for an online event like that. So just to summarize the points that were said and some of the ideas that were given was, making sure you're encouraging the employees to properly turn off in their off time. So Samuel, you mentioned putting away the phone, because I think, you know, everyone's turn off is, I'll just go check my phone and check social media. I think that's a really important one. And Sophie, speaking to your point of walks and talks, I think that's such a great idea. If you're within proximity of people, you know, meeting up if possible and safely at a distance outside, or even if it is just on the phone and not having to be face to face with a camera on, it was such a different and you know, brings a different energy to the meeting that you're having. One of the things that we've actually used at Hibob as well is within, if you're a Slack user, there's an integration or an add-on to Slack called Donut, and you can have people join, and they can, and it'll actually randomly set them up to meet with somebody else, and then they can have a bit of a coffee break. So that's another bit of encouragement. So although it is still over Zoom, it's not a work-related Zoom call, which might help and alleviate some of that fatigue some employees are feeling.
I've got a +1 for Donut. Yeah, it's been great. We've got about sort of 25 people on there from our teams, and yeah, people can sort of drop in, drop out. Again, depending on their workload, it might just be another call for someone which they don't want to do, but for others, it's absolutely great just to interact with different people. So we've sort of tried to replicate as many touch points, both for our onboarding and also just catching up. You know, I guess even for us in the people's and HR teams, you know, we don't have as much collaboration with a whole variety of different people, because it really depends on who initiatives you're running and, you know, different sort of sessions that you're putting on. It may be a case that, yeah, you just haven't checked in with an employee from a particular department for a couple of months, you know, as especially it's easy to do as you scale. So for me, someone who really enjoyed being in the office and socializing with everyone, even if it's just for that 2-minute coffee while the kettle was boiling or something, you know, it's great because you can just have a lovely catch up with someone, only for 15 minutes or so, but it just means you've checked in and you feel a bit more connected. So yeah, definitely a +1 for Donut there.
Thank you so much, Sophie. So this next question kind of continues on with this topic of Zoom fatigue, and it really addresses kind of mental health. So how are you at Amido, Sophie, managing the mental health of employees remotely?
Yeah, and I think everyone is probably feeling, you know, like their mental health has taken a bit of a hit during this time. I think, you know, there has just been a lot of uncertainty and so many sort of promising things, and then we're back into lockdown again. You know, I know it's different for different countries that are probably on this call. I think the UK we've been in lockdown for quite some time now. We've got a little bit longer to go. So yeah, going back to the flexibility point, it's you've got to be flexible for people. But yeah, we've rolled out the sort of monthly wellbeing check-in surveys, and it's really just we allow a week to collect the feedback in a sort of pulse format, and then we sort of categorize it and sort of work with managers to, you know, to make changes to different bits and pieces, which is where the sort of Zoom fatigue came in earlier, where a couple of ideas of on the other end, actually, our developers who would, you know, would like to be pairing with other developers on different sort of initiatives. You know, there was this feature called Zoom Room, which actually allowed you, you know, just to kind of work on the same thing. You can drop in and out in different teams. That was sort of something as well. Yeah, we've got about sort of 10 mental health wellbeing advocates in the business, and they're all sort of mental health first aid trained. And we're also lucky enough to have a sort of big wellbeing committee of about 20 people. We try to meet every 2 weeks. Again, it's depending on people's commitments. People can come in and come out as they'd like. And we put sort of, yeah, a number of different sort of things together. So we've got, you know, various different communities that we've created off the back of that. And yeah, just tips and tricks really, and people sharing things that, you know, they feel comfortable to do so. So one example, actually, one of our employees in our sort of wellbeing channel just was able to say, look, I'm having a really challenging day today. Anyone else feel the same? Or, you know, any sort of tips? You know, I'm just feeling a bit, yeah, just a bit of a crappy day. So one of our other employees who actually happened to live close by, yeah, just sort of whipped up some flapjacks and next day we had a photo in the channel, and you know, she dropped it on the doorstep, and that was incredible, because that was just born out of a message, and yeah, that's just sort of shows the sort of, yeah, the fact that people feel comfortable enough to sort of talk through that. And off the back of that, we've been sort of, yeah, like the sort of company swag, like keeping people connected in that way. We've sort of sent out branded face masks and like little reminders that, you know, thanking everyone for their hard work in these challenging times, especially for our new joiners who, you know, receive something over Christmas or at different sort of surprise periods of the year. You know, I think it's really important for people to have something in their hand with, you know, the brand, and just to sort of be reminded that it's a challenge for everyone, and you know, we are supported by our sort of leadership team and the company. So there's loads and loads of different pieces we're doing though, you know, and I know we've got Mental Health Awareness Week coming up in May, so we're busy planning bits and pieces around that. Doesn't feel long ago that I prepped up that from last year. So yeah, it's about having, yeah, lots of different, we're never going to please everyone, right? You know, especially with a company of 140. So it's really about yeah, just putting on various bits and pieces to supplement the employee experience, and signposting people, you know, to help, and signposting people to areas that they can go and talk to, because a lot of people might not feel comfortable talking to someone in the company. So we've got, you know, we're lucky to have Vitality Healthcare and a fantastic employee assistance program to sort of supplement the support, really, as well as ensuring our line managers and delivery managers are able to kind of, yeah, keep conversations flowing and spotting whether someone's not attending meetings or whether someone's just not being a bit quieter. So we've got a pretty good back and forth between our teams. But yeah, there's always a bit of a struggle, isn't there? The latest was the homeschooling, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of others, but we've got to adapt, right?
You should.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you so much, Sophie. So actually, just before, so we've kind of touched upon, I think everyone has shared some different ideas around how to encourage employees and how to alleviate that Zoom fatigue, and a lot of those things can actually have an impact on the mental health as well. I think, you know, it's making everyone feel part of a team and feel connected. I think that's something very important. And Sophie, I think you touched upon a really important piece before, where somebody, you know, just sent out a quick message and felt comfortable enough to do so. And I think that fostering that culture within a company is really important. So just with that in mind, I want to just switch this over to a bit of a different question in this, and kind of with still keeping in mind of keeping employees connected, but also a little bit of this will also go in with the mental health thing as well. So it's how have you added in different, you know, perks for companies and benefits that for different perks for employees at your companies? Have you changed to different benefits? Have you added or removed any benefits that you were previously providing? Are you doing anything with catered food or internet reimbursements? So Samuel, if you don't mind, I'll pass this question over to you.
So we have not had a chance. I've been trying to implement some sort of discount perk, platform benefit, but obviously with having all the shops closed, it's like, well, you know, it doesn't really make sense to do it like right now. It's something that we introduced kind of as a perk was spending an hour, which I created as a weekly event called You Talk, but not about work. So people can come in, join, or leave as they please, and just basically spending an hour of work fully paid, in which you can talk about whatever you want except for work. So I started doing some presentations. We had a stress week, so I was talking about relaxation techniques. Then we talked about human rights, the importance of sleeping. Last month I was talking about St. Valentine's Day, and so, you know, the history about St. Valentine's. We even had a recipe on how to create a chocolate cheesecake. So just basically putting some certain ideas. We used to sign up with the cycle to work schemes as well in the past, and now we acquire that internally. So that comes with more perks and benefits and a wider range and a higher amount that people can apply for, you know, when it comes to the bike, and give more facilities for people to access to that. Obviously, trying to encourage people to cycle more and use less public transport, which is quite important when you're trying to keep the social distance, and, you know, see if people can, you know, basically do more exercise and be a little bit more proactive and active. But we already had the private healthcare with Vitality, like Sophie suggested. We also have another plan with Simply Health, which is cashback, and people can use with, you know, treatments, which comes very handy for those who, you know, prefer that way. And our employee assistance program became key as well. So we actually started with that in 2019, so, you know, way before, when we did not know what was going to happen. And it proved to be really well. So our assistance program gives up to 6 counseling sessions. In the past, they used to be face-to-face. Now, obviously, they're done via video conference. And people really appreciate the fact that they are going to have someone who's going to be able to talk to and give that professional counseling service, and, you know, some guidance about how to deal with the certain problems like anxiety or stress, fatigue, etc. And they also have some of the techniques like nutrition, how to, you know, improve your meals, and all that comes, you know, that well-being that comes by eating healthy, and also techniques on how to give up smoking. So yeah, I actually have quite a few staff members who gave up smoking during the quarantine, and it came really handy.
That's so great to hear. And I think that these initiatives and these different perks and benefits that can be offered to employees go so hand in hand with the previous question around how are you taking care of employees' mental health. So Nirit, just before I'll pass this question over to you, and I know a couple of the things that we've done at Hibob, and I've actually, one of them in particular has had such a big impact. So I'll see if it's one that you're mentioning.
Okay, and if I do not remember all, please help me. But yeah, so I think that first of all, of course, we gave the employees an allowance to buy equipment for home. So, you know, beside laptop and everything, just, you know, if they need a chair or whatever, we don't know what they're missing. So we thought we trust their knowledge and gave them the ability to purchase that. At the same time, we also provided some guidance on how to use it properly ergonomically at home, which I think is very important. And then we provided headspace, which I think was really appreciated by many of the employees. Again, to do a little bit of a downtime, to relax and to relieve with the stress. I think, yeah, we provide Pilates online class globally. And we do a lot of lectures and, you know, tips and tricks around work-life balance, again, from really good lecturers that come and talk, you know, about their ability or their way of handling work-life balance in a better way, health in a better way, and so on. I think, you know, we cannot, because everybody is from home and we are all adults and we trust our employees, I think we can only create the awareness and provide the tools. And, you know, of course, we continue to help them and we continue to help the managers, but I think at the end it is with the employees to use it properly. So we are doing our best just to provide the tools and the awareness. Did I miss anything, Annie?
No, you touched upon the one I was going to mention was Headspace. I found that to be incredibly beneficial as an employee. It really allows that shut off because you have to put, you know, you're playing it on your phone, but you're putting it away, eyes closed, having a mindful moment. It's very beneficial. So on this will be kind of the wrap up of our session. We've just come to, it's gone by so quickly, I can't believe it. Hearing all of these wonderful ideas of how different companies are keeping their employee experience top notch, even with a global pandemic going on, and how you've changed everything to remote within that as well. So So thank you so much, Sophie, Samuel, and Nirit. It's been really appreciated. And just a reminder for everyone, for our audience, there's a survey that'll be coming out. It'll be available on the in the dashboard, I believe. Serena, correct me if I'm wrong. So just make sure to answer that to be entered into the raffle for a chance to win a prize. So thank you again, Sophie, Samuel, and Nirit. Very much appreciated. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day.
It was a pleasure to be here. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care. Bye.